What's going on, guys? It's Tristan here, and today I'm talking about my experience doing the 10-day Vipassana retreat over in Joshua Tree. And I'm coming to you about 8 years after I've done it. I did it when I was 20 years old, and it definitely changed my life and added a lot of new perspectives that I didn't have before. And if you're thinking about doing it or you just want to learn more, definitely watch this video because I'll give you some insights, a little bit about what it's like and what I got from it. So going into it, I was around 20 years old. I was just beginning my spiritual journey, and I was like researching online, listening to Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle. I was reading The Power of Now, and I was really waking up to this whole new reality that was closed off to me for a long time. And so I wanted to act on it, and I wanted to get some experience. And one thing I found was this place where you meditate for 10 days, 10 hours a day, 100 hours basically, over 10 days, and it was in Joshua Tree. I lived in Palm Desert at the time, and so I told my parents, I was over there for break, and I told them that I told my dad to give me a ride over to this place where I'm going to be there for 10 days and just meditate for 10 days straight. And he thought I was joining a cult or something, and we were just laughing about it on the way there. But I could tell he was really skeptical, but also a little supportive. But when I get there, and I walk into the retreat center, I could feel that there is this sacred, very still present energy emanating from the entire center. All these buildings, everything was so potent there. And so I could really feel from the get-go that this is like some serious business, and I liked it. I felt like the frequency was home almost, something closer to home. And so they give me a pamphlet, and the first thing on the pamphlet says you can't talk to anybody, you can't look anybody in the eyes, you can't journal, you can't exercise, you can't do anything that will take you out of just being present with yourself. And I like that because I was already an introvert, so I'm like, let's do this. And they put me into this hallway with dorms, and they separate the men from the women. And I was paired up with this one dude. I can't remember what he looked like. I never looked at him, but he lasted like a day. A lot of these guys kind of like dropped out as the 10 days went on because it is really painful. I almost left myself after the third day because you go into this main room and you have these cushions, and you sit on these like cushions in lotus position. And as you're sitting in lotus position for so long, it's like your brain is not used to not moving your legs for that long. And so your brain starts freaking out. And I think it just starts sending pain signals to your legs when in reality, your legs are totally fine. You're just sitting there, you're walking morning and night. Your body's fine, but it's just freaking out because it's not used to being so still for so long. So once you get used to being that still for a long time, it really starts getting good. And I think that's where building a daily meditative practice would have been really beneficial for me before going into it. So I'd recommend anybody to actually get a daily practice going before going into the 10-day Vipassana retreat, or it's going to be pretty painful. And so what you do is you take the first 3 days, they teach you to take all your awareness and put it right on the top of your lip. And so for 3 days, you're only focusing on that area right on your lip. And it's wild because you start feeling this intense pulsing sensation, like you could feel your blood flowing in and out of your lip. You could feel the oxygen coming in and out of your nose. And it's fascinating, really. And then on the third day, he tells you to take your awareness and place it at the top of your head. And then you start scanning your body. And as you're scanning your body, you're feeling what comes up, and you process it with equanimity. And they keep pounding this concept of equanimity into you, and it's this idea that you neither crave nor what is it? Like you neither crave or aversion. There's cravings and aversions. That's the word they use. So if you're in craving or aversion towards something, you're sort of in the past or the present because you're not just neutral. It's been a while. You're not neutral. And when you process your feelings and emotions with equanimity, it allows it to disperse. And I remember feeling, they called it a sankhara, I think. Felt like these black sea urchin blobs moving down my arms, out my fingers, out my feet, out my body. And every time I'd process one of these sankharas, it would feel like my body would become so much lighter, and I could just hold so much more light and presence in my body. And after doing the meditations, some of them would be like 2, 3, 4 hour sessions, I think. I would walk out into, the center where they have these beautiful trails. There's all these animals, nature. It's gorgeous. I would feel almost the air moving through my body. It was like I felt like a cloud just moving through the world. And there's all these animals there, and they're not afraid of anybody or afraid of you, because everyone there is so docile and meditative. Like, you'll walk up to a bunny rabbit, and the rabbit will just like look at you and just keep doing what it's doing. I remember I noticed that there was a lot of pairs of twos in the animals. Like, I remember seeing a lot of birds kind of like dancing with one another, or even butterflies kind of being with one another. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but I remember seeing that. And I remember the dreams were so vivid each night. Each night you go to sleep, and when you wake up, the transition between actually waking up and then being lucid was really just blurry, because it was so similar. I remember I had this one dream, this one I remember in particular. I was flying around in like a spaceship, like a miniature spaceship in a room, and then there was this lady at the front that was pioneering the spaceship, and I walk up to her and I put my hand on her shoulder, and then she turns into a telephone, and I pick up the telephone, and the telephone tells me, it asked me a question. It was like, I hear this voice asking me, why are you so attached to material, like possessions or something like that? And then I just woke up, and I was like, okay, that was interesting. And so the moment I almost quit was on the 3rd day. I felt so much pain in my legs that I got up, went outside, and I was like, I think I'm ready to go. This is hard. But then one of the servants came out, and the servant, he actually talked to me, which surprised me, and he asked me what was going on, and I told him, I think I'm going to leave, like, this is hurting too much. And he told me to wait and speak with the teacher after. And so I spoke with the teacher, and the teacher is basically this dude who just sits up there, and he's an example of meditation, of this potent, like, present energy. And that's all he does. He doesn't speak. The only person you learn from is this guy called Goenka, who's on like a CRT monitor that they use like VCR tapes with or something. But I asked him, I told the guy, like, I am in so much pain. I don't think I could do this. I think I'm going to go. And the teacher looked at me like dead in the eyes with this loving awareness, and he just told me it will pass. I think that's all he said. It will pass. Like, it'll be okay. And I'm like, okay. And so I continued the meditation the next time you go in, and I remember my pain just dissipated completely. And that's when I realized the power of my mind and the power of your mind over your body. And that's when things really got interesting, because I started to go really deep into the practice, and I kept releasing more and more blockages. And at the 7th day, I think, I started to get this sensation, and it felt like a golden buzzing frequency, like this vibration that was so fast and pure that encapsulated my whole body. And it only happened randomly. Like, it would just pop in, and it would feel orgasmic, like truly just the best feeling that I've ever felt to this day, I think, from a sober place, like the best sensation. And it would come and flood my body with just ecstasy, and then it would leave. And it was sort of a test, because I craved it. I definitely craved it when it left, and I wanted it to come back, and I couldn't get it to come back willingly. It would just come randomly in meditation. It would just flood my body and leave, like it was sort of teasing me, and that was really interesting. The whole experience just really showed me so much. You got to understand, before this, I didn't really have a meditation practice. I wasn't into it at all. And after this, it was the moment when I realized that the spirituality stuff is real. Like, it's really tangible, and it really changes everything. And that there's the journey that you can go on, and the journey of growth is never ending. Like, we're always going to be ascending into just higher and higher states of consciousness. And it put me down this path of really becoming like a seeker, and really just wanting to grow and do more. And so if you feel like it's something you want to do, or if you're kind of at that point in your journey, I would definitely recommend to go do it. And I might even go do it one of these days. It just feels like it's a lot. It's like a real commitment. And it was a lot for me at the time. I'm grateful I did it. But what happened after I did it is I was embodying this really high state of being. I was embodying a lot of light. And then I went home to a more dense environment. And when I was in that denser environment, I was still holding all this light and I was keeping up with my practice. But I started to get attacked by negative like energies and entities. I remember I would go to sleep or I'd go to a nap and I would hear these like voices whispering in my ear almost. And they were saying things like, "Get the fuck out of here." I remember that's exactly what it sounded like. It was like you, like go kill yourself, or just shit like that, you know, just really negative things that didn't really affect me, but I was kind of like, okay, this is strange. And I think subconsciously it got me to stop with my meditation practice, stop doing it continuously, because it was a lot of work to maintain that level of frequency and that amount of light in a denser environment. And so it's something I needed to build up to. And I do wish I kept up with the practice. And even since then, for many, many years, I didn't really keep up or like do meditation to that extent, even though I knew how powerful it was for me. It's really just shocking when you go from this huge amount of presence and light, and then you go into the kind of the darkness. It's kind of makes you not really want to go back into it again. And so you've got to be prepared, and you want to just be ready for it. And if you feel ready for it, definitely do it. It's totally worth it. It'll change your life. It definitely shifted my whole trajectory. And I hope this video was helpful to you. I just kind of rambled. I wanted to come on and just share my experience. And if you found any insights or you have any comments from your own experience that you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments. I read every single one of them. I reply to all of them. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.